Rakhat Aliyev was the ambassador of Kazakhstan in Austria. 11 years ago, he took part in an OSCE conference on torture, sat on these chairs together with representatives of other governments, and spoke about how efficiently Kazakhstan fights in favor of human rights. Today, 11 years after, the same chairs are occupied by his own victims. In the meantime, Rakhat Aliyev fell out with his ex-father-in-law and current president of Kazakhstan, Nazarbayev, divorced to his daughter, moved first to Vienna and then to Malta.
Приговорен в 2000 году к 3,5 годам лишения свободы. На своем опыте испытал все физические, психологические и моральные воздействия, которые применяются в наших тюрьмах. Не понаслышке, все сам испытал.
В 1999 году я также имел несчастье начать свою политическую деятельность, и в результате у меня Рахат Алиев отобрал бизнес. Я был вынужден бежать вместе с семьей в Канаду, и практически 15 лет мы находимся с семьей в эмиграции.
In a special side event organized within the OSCE conference, the victims turned to the main organs of the European community in order to initiate a legal action against Rakhat Aliyev.
Мне лично пока угроз не было, слава богу, но я знаю, что Рафаил Саткимбаев, он трагически скончался в январе этого года в Алма-Ате. В его адрес от Рахата Алиева поступали угрозы. И вся эта история с якобы несчастным случаем очень напоминает случай с журналистом, с независимым журналистом Шерифжановым, который случился в Алма-Ате. Его также внезапно, случайно сбила машина после того, как он приготовил большое разоблачительное интервью.
Also, a delegation from Kazakhstan took part in the event. Yet, despite the official statement, in Kazakhstan Rakhat Aliyev is still not prosecuted for the falsification of the ex-Prime Minister Kazakh case and for the torture of his security guards.
In Kazakhstan, we consider all cases of torture associated with Aliyev as standalone and extraordinary. Precisely in order to exclude similar incidents from Kazakh society, our government is taking systematic measures to combat torture.
At the meeting also participated the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture. He promised to get personally involved in the case regarding the tortures inflicted by Aliyev.
If you have custody or if you have somebody in your territory that is reliably suspected of having committed any of those crimes, you either have to prosecute him or to relinquish him to the jurisdiction of another, any other jurisdiction that has the ability to prosecute him. Unfortunately, there are many cases like the one you mentioned. If you want to give me more chapter and verse on the particular case, I can see what I can do from the rapporteurship.
Still, the investigation process is not running smoothly. There are some forces in Europe that work behind the scenes, slowing down the legal proceedings. Politicians, lawyers, banks, driven by personal financial interest in Aliyev's case, are hindering the course of justice.
В качестве примера я могу назвать нынешнего министра юстиции Австрии, господина Бронштеттера, человек, который помог с видом на жительство не только самому Рахату Алиеву, но и членам его преступной группировки. Человек, который, будучи адвокатом, приступил эту черту и стал подельником Рахата Алиева.
The MQN Center area totals 40,000 square meters and accommodates 40 media outlets. It belongs to the city of Vienna and partly to Rakhat Aliyev, who invested about 7 million euros in its development. 2 months before the OSCE meeting, a press conference had to be relocated in a small cafe after the media center closed its doors to Rakhat Aliyev's victims, journalists and activists.
Я хотел бы попросить прощения за то, что мы сегодня вот в таком помещении, потому что предварительная договоренность была в конференц-зале, который в медиа-максе, который принадлежит Рахату Алиеву. И нам было разрешено провести там пресс-конференцию. Был заплачен аванс. И вот буквально за 2 часа до этого мы получаем месседж, что по каким причинам, причем не объясняется, нам отказано в конференц-зале.
Apparently, the conference room was closed because of an alleged problem in the electrical system. After years of abusing his authority in Kazakhstan and wearing diplomatic masks in Austria, in 2008 the Aliyev system starts cracking. In Kazakhstan, he is sentenced in absentia to 20 years of prison on charges of abduction and extortion. In 2010, Austrian prosecutors launched an investigation against Aliyev into a double murder. Yet, the same year, due to the negligence and inaccuracy of the Viennese courts, Aliyev packs his bags and flees to Malta. After the imposed divorce with Daria Nazarbayev, Aliyev got married again to an Austrian citizen. Her European passport allowed him to enter Malta.
European law states that there is the right to a family staying together. So that is a way for any non-EU citizen who is the spouse of a EU citizen for them to live in a country. Of course, there should be checks, and money should not rule supreme. What we need is honest people.
The murky border, which divides honest and dishonest people, and the loopholes in the legal system of some European countries create distortions which let in people with dubious reputation.
Austria has a scheme of giving citizenship to people of renown. If you're a famous sportsman or a famous artist or a famous whatever, and you can give a contribution to the country, you can get citizenship, Austrian citizenship. But it has been now found out that the 2 past prime ministers of Ukraine and the one who's supposed to be the future prime minister of Ukraine, they all have Austrian citizenship.
Aliyev's girdling roots found their way along Maltese system too. Here, the authorities let him in, even though an international arrest warrant had already been issued against him in Kazakhstan, and investigations had started in Austria.
The buying of the citizenship. That would be one of the fears, sort of, that unknown people would come and buy property or whatnot in Malta, and we wouldn't know who's coming in.
But I think it shouldn't be like this. Like, maybe you have to live here 10 years, so you can have a passport or permanent residence permit.
Well, it's a world ruled by money practically, so rich people can do anything possible, and if it's a residence that they can just purchase, I guess that it makes sense for them to live in Malta.
Aliyev's whereabouts in Malta were uncovered only in 2012, when his former lawyer Pio Valletta filed a lawsuit in relation to the legal services he rendered to Aliyev.
In the bill that Pio Valletta gave to Aliyev, he had charged him 150,000 euros out of that total 1.5 million because he claimed he had difficulties in having to get his permanent residence due to his Interpol alert. At some point, this must have been flagged by the immigration police, and Pio Valletta's note, his bill, makes it clear. Whether the Minister for Home Affairs at the time, actually was Minister for Foreign Affairs, Tonio Borg, knew of this. There have been denials. There have been denials from the Foreign Minister at the time, Tonio Borg.
Rakhat Aliyev enters Malta anyway. He changes his surname into Shoraz, liquidates some of his European companies, transfers his millions of euros into the banks of the island, hires the best lawyers and consultants, and starts investing, using his wife and other people as trustees. A Maltese paper for Russian speakers advertises real estate in the island. Madlina is one of the elitist neighborhood, and Aliyev has a villa there. The relaxing atmosphere of the area is disrupted by Aliyev's villa, whose tall trees, thick walls and large amount of security cameras make it a perfect hiding place. The money that Aliyev accumulated through extortion, embezzlement and forgery had to be laundered. A way of doing it is investing in luxury properties like those in Fort Cambridge and Pender Gardens. Except from a private aircraft that secures him the possibilities of escaping from one country to another, Rakhat Aliyev has also a luxury yacht decked at the Manuel Island port and hidden among many others. Yet Aliyev will not be able to set sail anymore, as the Maltese Criminal Court has already issued a freezing order on it.
By pure coincidence, just a week before I had published the first story on Aliyev, he actually called the owner of this newspaper of Malta Today, asking whether he was interested in selling the newspaper, and obviously he told him that it was not for sale, and that was that. Then I think it was a year later, Aliyev's autobiography was reprinted in English by the printers for the Times.
Despite the efforts that Aliyev made to silence the Maltese authorities and press, the long arm of the law is locking its doors and raising its fences. Aliyev's assets in Malta were frozen. An investigation for money laundering was opened in Germany. His Austrian alien's passport was revoked, and Aliyev's victims are accusing him of torture.
Рахат Алиев в бытность заместителем председателя Комитета национальной безопасности нашей страны путем фальсификации доказательств, путем давления на многие силовые органы попытался представить нас преступниками в своей стране, якобы готовящими в то время государственный переворот. Нас осудили, мы отсидели в зонах. За эти преступления должен ответить конкретно сам Рахат Алиев.
Rakhat Aliyev's complacent songs are not bewitching Europe anymore. Actions to consider the victims' claims are taken by Maltese courts. Cedric Mifsud, the victim's lawyer, firmly believes that the proofs of tortures against his clients are multiple and evident.
Apart from the claims that they have made, I've also seen statements from other individuals, sworn statements, that the things that they are claiming really took place. So it is one thing when you just receive the statement from your client saying that something happened. There's another thing when that statement is backed up by other individuals who are repeating the same things that your clients are stating.
Afanasyenko and Ibrahim have come to Malta to attend the hearing in the hope that the court will order the police to start the investigations before Aliyev escapes to another country. Aliyev has been hiding behind these high walls and fortresses for the last few years, but now the haven is not safe anymore, and the chances to finally bring him to justice are on the rise.
Что ее нет справедливости. Мы не хотим в это верить. Хотя и в Австрии вы прекрасно знаете, и вот здесь убеждаемся, что деньги – это сильная вещь. Но мы будем бороться дальше.
Vienna, July 2014. Rakhat Aliyev is arrested by the Austrian authorities. A criminal case is open. The former son-in-law of the president of Kazakhstan, Nazarbayev, could get a sentence of 20 years of prison for the alleged kidnapping and murder of two Nurbank bankers, Jordan Timuraliyev and Aybar Kashenov. I will fly to Kazakhstan and try to reconstruct the events that happened in January 2007 and are described in details in the indictment issued by the Austrian prosecutors. The court proceedings tell of a criminal who starts a corporate raiding campaign abusing the unlimited power endorsed to him by his status of Chief of the Tax Police, Deputy Chief of the KNV State Security Service and First Vice Foreign Minister. The gruesome operations culminated in 2007 with the murder of two bankers in connection with Nurbank, one of Aliyev's numerous property. As charges relate, at a board meeting on January 18, 2007, Aliyev asked Gidimov and Timuraliyev to accompany him on a trip to Kiev for the purchase of a bank and insurance company. The two executives went home to pack and then, on Gidimov's car, drove towards the airport. This is the main road that leads to the airport of Almaty. On their way there, the two bankers received a phone call from Aliyev's accomplice saying that the plane had been delayed and they had to go to a nearby sauna and sport complex inside one of the governmental residences. It was here that the first ordeal took place. Gilimov was brought into a guest room of the complex, handcuffed and prevented from leaving. Timur Aliyev was led into a training room and handcuffed to a training device. Aliyev forced Timur Aliyev to phone Abdullayev, the owner of the Kandala building, and demanded him to hand it over to him. By holding a gun against Timur Aliyev's head and beating him violently, Rakhat Aliyev attempted to get information concerning the identity of Nurbank credit holders and the commercial evolution regarding the Kandala office building. According to the charges, the two bank executives were also forced under a death threat to resign from their Nurbank positions. Should they refuse, they would be buried and stamps would be put in their passports to make it look as if they disappeared in Ukraine. During the detention, the two bank executives were beaten, given stupefying substances, and had their hair shaven as a sign of humiliation and inferiority. In the evening of the 19th of January, the two executives are released. They decide not to report the case to the police, thinking that that was a single event and that soon things would be sorted out without any external aid. On the 22nd of January, a board meeting of Nurbank took place in the Kandala offices in the presence of Aliyev, Gilimov and Timur Aliyev. The two latter abandoned their positions and abstained from their interest in the bank. But what was really going on at Nurbank? According to the charges, Aliyev was planning to sell the bank. Yet audits had revealed that numerous loans were granted to enterprises linked to the bank insiders such as Timur Aliyev and Gilimov. As a consequence, Aliyev concluded that his partners were building up an empire with Nurbank credits and enriching themselves on his expenses. He was of the opinion that everything that was financed by his bank belonged to him. This is Kandala Business Center. Back in 2007, on the 9th floor of this building, some of Nurbank offices were located. Well, Aliyev managed to extort this whole building to its previous owner, Abdullayev, at much lower prices than the market value. How did he do it? Well, according to the prosecution, through intimidation and abuse of power. In this same building, the second ordeal began on January 31st. Timur Aliyev is summoned by Aliyev at Nurbank offices in the Kandala building. This time, with him is called another Nurbank employee, Aybar Kasenov, head of the management and trade department. Aliyev and his accomplice Kashlyak met the two bankers with the aim to force an acknowledgement out of them concerning the funds and assets allegedly obtained with Nurbank loans. Kasenov arrived at 1 p.m. and Timur Aliyev at 3. They were brought into different rooms on the 9th floor of the building. Timur Aliyev was conducted to a conference room where he met Aliyev and Kashlyak, who treated him the same way Kasenov was treated a few hours before. Early in the morning, Aliyev had ordered one of his assistants to drive to the Kandala building and wait for a call, as something needed to be transported. They firstly asked him to write a confession concerning the loans, yet as he was not cooperative enough, they started to beat, kick and threaten him. Eventually, Timur Aliyev wrote down something which yet did not satisfy Aliyev. this point, the two prisoners were ordered to dress working overalls, then they had their heads covered with hats, they were drugged and finally were driven away from the buildings. First, they were driven to one of Aliyev's villa. From there, the decision was taken to bring the two bankers to the village of Koldi, some kilometers far from Almaty. After the candlelight building events, the two bankers were brought here to what back in 2007 was the Agrotex company, an enterprise which belonged to Rakhat Aliyev's father, Mukhtar. The two bankers were kept hostage for a few days. They were interrogated, beaten, threatened to death, and drugged. In the meantime, outside, their wives turned to Nazarbayev, to whom in desperation begged for help. Knowing this, Aliyev forced the two prisoners to call their wives and tell them they were escaping from the financial police. Yet this did not resolve the issue, which degenerated on the 9th of February, when the two executives were killed, according to the charges, by administering paralyzing and stupefying substances and then by strangling them. The evidence was then burned on the site. We were brought here by the investigator who followed the Rakhat Aliyev's case. He told us that this is the exact place where the two bodies were buried and then found. In this place, in 2007, there was a debris disposal which belonged to Aliyev's accomplice, Kashlak. They had excavators and metal drums. With the excavator, they dug a huge hole in this place, and then took two of these metal drums, put the bodies inside them and then into the hole, and then with the same excavators they recovered everything with soil. A few days after the double murder, Aliyev was appointed ambassador of Kazakhstan in Austria. Yet this attempt of diverting attention did not succeed. The public pressure against Aliyev increased to such an extent that proceedings were initiated in Kazakhstan and ended with a sentence in absentia of 20 years of imprisonment. Only 4 years later, in 2011, investigations against Aliyev started in Austria. Testimonies were interviewed, evidence discovered, DNA tests on the bodies of the two executives were made, and the murder accusations were confirmed. The trial was ready to start when an unexpected plot twist occurred. On the 24th of February 2015, Aliyev was found dead in the cell of his Vienna prison. According to the official, he committed suicide by hanging himself.